Yo, it's your boy Logos. And a couple days ago, I did a few videos on Star Wars when they announced a new director. And she's woke. And it's not me just saying that, it's her own words herself. Of course, she didn't flat out say I'm woke, but you saying that I want to make men uncomfortable, and you saying it's time for a woman to lead Star Wars, when that's your first announcement to the fans, to me, it just shows your priorities aren't with creating a good story, new characters, or bringing our faith back to the franchise. It's about pushing ideology. That's just me. But I could be wrong about that. I don't think so. I've seen a lot of other people on social media, on YouTube, saying the exact same thing. Even my friends who are not deep into Star Wars, when they saw what she said, they got the same feeling. And when you're already hemorrhaging money, when the last trilogy was already dog shit, unplanned, just ignoring plot lines, having plot holes, rehashing old plots from previous trilogies that were much better used or utilized, and you do it in a shitty way, in the least creative way possible. And the thing that you said when you first announced a new set of movies is we need a woman to lead the way, even though we had Kathleen Kennedy leading the way. And it's been, I'm sorry, man. These people are so stupid. I can't help but laugh at them. You want to say it's time for a woman to lead the galaxy far, far away, but Kathleen Kennedy has been leading it down the shitter for the past decade almost. Come on, man. Oh, you can't make this stuff up. These people are so easy to laugh at. You can't blame me. Let's get in this fucking video. I want to know what critical think of things.
Ah, another day, another controversy because a person said a thing and now half the internet is angry about it and the other half is angry at the people who got angry in the first place.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Honestly, we're only a few days into 2024 and already we have our first big battle for the empire of dust that is current day Star Wars. And in this case, the source of the controversy was Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, the director of the upcoming Star Wars movie focusing on Rey Palpatine.
Rey Skywalker.
Palpatine. I mean, Jesus, I've already said my piece on why turning stacks of dollar bills into crash barriers would be a more efficient way to spend $200 million or whatever embarrassingly huge amount of money they end up blowing on this turkey, so I won't repeat
It's gonna be a
myself
lot.
here. Instead, I'll just get right to the heart of the matter. As you probably noticed from looking at her, Sharmeen is a person of the female persuasion, and apparently that's real important when it comes to directing Star Wars movies because
And we're in 2024 now, and I think it's about time that we had a woman come forward to shape the story in a galaxy far, far away.
the old it's time for demographic X to do arbitrary thing because current year argument never gets old, does it? Now, when this clip started doing the rounds on the internet, the reaction from the Star Wars fan base was so thermonuclear that I think even Rachel Zegler breathed a sigh of relief. It's like a relay race, I guess. There's always going to be someone else waiting to say the next dumb thing and take the heat away from whoever's in the firing line at the moment. Not
And it's somehow, some way, always Disney related. Whether it's Pedro Pascal shitting on Star Wars fans from The Mandalorian, stuff like that. Whether it's Disney and Snow White, whether it's this and Star Wars, like, come on. What are you doing? Why you want to destroy yourselves? That's what I don't understand. Do you not want to make money? Are you not a business? What are you now? I thought Bob Iger figured this shit out and said, hey, we gotta chill out. We're losing money, we're falling apart. Disney Plus ain't doing as good as we thought it would be. And we spent so much money setting it up, this library, the servers, everything, and we're not making money on our movies, which is the foundation for how we're able to do this stuff. Come on, man. MCU, Marvel too. I forgot about Marvel. That is a shame. Me, a comic book nerd, forgot about Marvel. This is where we falling off. This used to be the best time alive to be a nerd, man, because we had modern cinema, modern technology to put these books, these stories, these other media on the big screen in such a beautiful way, and a story and characters that we imagine in our head from books in such a way better than we could ever imagine, and they screw it up time and time again now after doing so well for about a decade. This used to be the great time to be a nerd. Now it's like, oh no, this big studio who has all the resources in the world to make a good movie just got the property I love, and they're gonna turn it to absolute shit. It's like Lord of the Rings, absolute shit. It's like Halo. I've been asking for decades for a Halo show or movie. And in the show, Master Chief takes his helmet off, and I am done. On the poster for season 2 is Master Chief with this fucking helmet off. His helmet never comes off, but they just got his helmets off like it's just a normal thing that happens in the game all the time. They have no respect for the original source, and it is so sad. It is sad, man.
Only did Charmin's statement conveniently ignore the fact that women have been represented as the protagonists of 4 out of the past 5 Star Wars movies. The writers, producers, directors, and stars of 4 out. Charmin's statement conveniently ignored the fact that women have been represented as the protagonists of 4 out of the past.
He literally has his gun pointing at her, following her, and he doesn't fire a single fucking gun, a single fucking shot, and she just no look kills him. Stuff would be a lot better in these movies and shows if they, had the choreography for the combat actually be realistic. That way it makes your characters look more skillful, and it makes your enemies look more menacing. But when everybody's so stupid and dumb, it's ridiculous. And don't come at me talking about it's just because they're stormtroopers. It doesn't matter. When Kylo Ren and Rey had that final fight in Storm Room, combat dog shit. And if you don't believe me, check out, I think Shad University. He did a breakdown of that scene, and just all the people that are just standing around, not really attacking the kill like you should in that situation, and how it just takes you out of the movie. It is trash.
Past 5 Star Wars movies, the writers, producers, directors, and stars of multiple TV shows and video games, virtually the entire Lucasfilm story group, and the president of the entire studio, but it also played into all the tediously predictable tropes that have come to define the culture of modern Star Wars. The obsession with identity over personality, the narcissistic sense of entitlement, the trampling of the legacy of previous generations, the idea that you're owed something purely because of your gender, the realization that no matter how much ground is given and how many concessions are made, the demand will always be the same. More. And I think after enduring almost 10 years of smug, overpowered girl bosses who can magically do everything better than the men around them, the Star Wars fanbase are kind of over the whole female empowerment thing now. It's not new, groundbreaking, inventive, or admirable anymore. It's become the norm, as tediously predictable and stale as the damsel in distress trope from decades earlier. The reality is that the stage had already been set for something like this when Obaid Chinoy was first announced as director and people began to learn more about her background and career. A Pakistani journalist, documentary filmmaker, and feminist activist whose main focus was on highlighting the plight of women in Pakistani culture.
And tell me, even outside of the road stuff, how is that supposed to get me excited for the helm Star Wars? None of those things sound like I can understand, like, some people say if you know how to direct a good story, you can direct anything. Nah, I don't know about that because we had a lot of flops. So the whole idea that her only career, IMDb, like her filmography, is, smaller documentaries within, usually the same subject, which is fine if that's what you want to do. Then you go into a major blockbuster like Star Wars, an iconic franchise. Come on, how am I supposed to be enthusiastic about that? Outside of the girl power stuff, the women power stuff, outside of the men uncomfortable stuff, just anything at all, outside of all that stuff. Her resume doesn't have me excited. It's not. It doesn't make sense, man. It just doesn't make sense. Especially if you care about making good quality content. I just don't see it.
I mean, that's admirable work indeed, but the question on most people's minds was, what the fuck has that got to do with Star Wars? The answer seemed to come in the form of previous interviews that magically resurfaced around the same time that seemed to offer some insight into her mindset as a director.
I like to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men uncomfortable.
If I need to stand up and face a man and look at him in the eyes and scare him off a little bit, I do scare Pakistani men off a little bit. That I do, and I enjoy that power.
I am working.
You know what? I don't give a shit. I'm just say it. If you really scared a man off in Pakistan, I'm pretty sure you're only scaring him off because either you had like some like your husband or a big dude behind you, or he knows who you are and your journalistic power. Like that's it. Like I don't understand how him having a conversation with you would scare him off. Like I come on, man. I'm not gonna sit here and bullshit y'all, man. What about her is scary? Besides the way she think. That's scary. But no. I don't buy it. Said it, I don't buy it. Knocking out her ass again.
to bring something that makes you uncomfortable, and it should make you uncomfortable.
Now, I'll be the first to admit that this doesn't sound particularly good when taken at face value, and it goes without saying that if a male director was to sit there and proudly declare how much he enjoys making women uncomfortable, you can bet your soy milk latte that his career would be over quicker than you can say, me also. But in this case, I'm about to do something that may just surprise you. I'm going to defend her on this one.
Are you serious?
See,
I bet he's gonna defend her. I hope, because it's within the context of like the stuff that she talked about, like in Pakistan, and how they may, well, I won't say may, I don't know exactly, but it could be, more abusive towards the women within that culture compared to the West. Maybe that's it.
the fact is, these interviews were made years earlier and they have absolutely nothing to do with Star Wars or even the entire Western Hemisphere for that matter.
Yeah.
She was talking about her documentary work to expose the practice of honor killings in Pakistan and the men who somehow think it's okay to literally murder women for the crime of being assaulted by other men. I mean,
I
if
agree
you
with
think
that.
you're having a bad day, I suggest you look it up sometime. It'll put your life into perspective pretty quick. Anyway, my point is that those are the men she was talking about wanting to feel uncomfortable, in the hopes that her work might cause them to reflect on their actions and rethink their worldview. Not an unreasonable position, but the problem is that when a clip like that surfaces at the same time as her interview about Star Wars, the human mind naturally forms a link between two completely unrelated things and assumes the worst. Shit man, we even covered it on Open Bar the other night, which is partly why I wanted to clarify it here. Now, none of this is to say that I think she's going to produce an amazing Star Wars movie, or that she's particularly qualified to take on a massive project like this in the first place, or that I agree with her reason for what.
I just want to say, what he's saying right there about the context of that quote, I think that is true. And I did make a video about that too, so I agree with him on that. But like I also said in the video before that one, because I made it one just about the announcement video that she made, and another one focusing on that interview where she said, I want to make men uncomfortable. So in the first one, before I even said it, before I even saw the second one with the interview, I was saying her background, I was saying her focus, and the first words that she said when announcing her Helminist project is that it's time for a woman to take the lead instead of talking about the story, the characters, and how excited she is to helm that stuff and bring it to the fans and to restore our trust in Star Wars and Disney. That's my issue. And that's, in saying that stuff, it just shows me your priorities. And that's not what I care about. And it's even more stupid because we all know this. Let's not play stupid. Most Star Wars fans, most nerds are men, are boys. So if you're saying that instead of we can't wait to bring a good story and redeem ourselves, but you're talking about it's time for a woman to take the lead when we had Kathleen Kennedy already taking the lead and driving the ship into the ground, why would I be excited? But what he's saying about that whole interview, I think he's correct on that.
Why she should be doing it, but I do think it's important to be fair in our criticism and not misrepresent people's opinions just to farm some quick outrage. Anyway, I digress. Back to the point at hand. You know, every time someone makes a statement like that, my question is always the same. Why? Why exactly is it time for a woman to direct a Star Wars movie? It's got to be more than just, it's 2024 now. And that's not to say that I'm against the basic premise, but what I'm questioning here is the logic of the argument. Because normally when you make a bold declaration that a thing needs to happen, it should be followed up by some kind of understandable rationale to justify it. Otherwise it would be like striding up to your boss and demanding a raise with no evidence of why you deserve one. Just as a quick example off the top of my head, I think it's about time time I disposed of the corpse of that double glazing salesman who just wouldn't take no for an answer because it's starting to stink up my living room and it's only a matter of time before the neighbours start asking questions. In this case, I've established a clear problem that needs to be addressed, and while other people might propose different solutions, nobody can argue that a solution of some kind is indeed required. So what exactly is the problem that needs to be solved in this case? Well, according to Charmine, it's that no woman has ever directed a Star Wars movie. And this, of course, is factually true. Out of the 11 Star Wars movies that have been released so far, all of them were directed by men. But why is this a problem? Are men inherently bad at directing Star Wars movies? Would women be better at it? Well, men have certainly directed some bad Star Wars films, that's for sure. I don't think many people would argue that Rise of Skywalker was a good movie, or Solo, or The Phantom Menace. But then again, A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and even Rogue One were all pretty good films, all of which were directed by men. But what about women? Are they different somehow? Well, in the world of Star Wars, we've had Bryce Dallas Howard direct multiple episodes of The Mandalorian, most of which turned out to be pretty good from a directing perspective. Not so much the writing, but that's not exactly her responsibility. So, nice work, Bryce. Then again, Deborah Chow directed every episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which was almost universally terrible, with some of the worst staging and cinematography that I've ever seen in a Star Wars production. Not so good, Debs. So what can we take from this? Well, it's almost like male and female directors are both capable of producing good and bad Star Wars projects, none of which has anything whatsoever to do with their gender, and everything to do with their individual talents, skills, and abilities as artists. So why do we have to demean them as individuals by reducing them down to a monolithic collective based on an irrelevant aspect of their identity? Why is it time for a woman to direct a Star Wars movie? More importantly, why is it time for this particular woman to direct a Star Wars movie? Well, I suspect you know the answer already. It's the same reason Kevin Feige proudly declared that we needed more female superheroes in the MCU, the same reason he hired inexperienced directors like Chloe Zhao, Kate Shortland and Nia DaCosta to take on massive projects that they were totally unprepared for, the same reason Lucasfilm were forging ahead with yet another movie about a character nobody cares about. It looks good. More importantly, it makes them look good. It allows them to pat themselves on the back and say they're doing their bit for the greater good by fast-tracking people into roles they're totally not ready for on the basis of their innate characteristics, and then conveniently forgetting about them when their projects inevitably fail, rather than taking on the longer and more difficult task of nurturing real talent and allowing people to gradually work their way up to top-level projects once they're ready. And if anything, I think this approach does a real disservice to the many talented and capable female directors already out there by reducing them to the status of token diversity hires chosen because of how they were born rather than their capability as artists, and provoking audiences into blaming them for failed movies that were never going to succeed anyway. Like, for example, another movie about the adventures of Rey Palpatine.
Rey Skywalker.
You and me are going to have a long talk when this is over. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now. Another day.
Yeah, overall, that's my main sentiment. Outside of the woke stuff or anything like that, or her background doesn't translate really to Star Wars. And I can understand people saying, like, if you can direct a certain documentary or another film, a smaller film, you can direct a bigger one, but he doesn't even direct films. It's documentary. That's non-fiction. It's a whole different thing when it's fiction and you have to lay out certain arcs or certain shots, or overall direct your actors and actresses to have a certain emotion or convey a certain type of feeling. I just don't think that's the same thing for what she's used to. My understanding, is real life, is documentaries. So every emotion that person you interviewing, what you're seeing is real. It's not fake. They naturally feel that way. Maybe she can somehow coach somebody to their best, but I don't see that coming. So why would I care about Star Wars when they clearly doesn't want to have my best interests at heart? Boom. So Disney falls apart. It is what it is. Unfortunately, I don't see them ever selling Star Wars unless they're at the point of, bankruptcy. But even then, I don't see that happening. There's enough people that will still go and see this dog shit to keep it afloat. It is what it is. Either way, we have the old movies, we have the old shows that actually cared about Star Wars. And if anything is good, I'll check it out. But first, I'm gonna see what everybody else think. I'm not gonna waste my time. I'm not gonna waste my money on Disney. Just being honest. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. It's your boy Logos, and I'll see you next time. Peace.